I came across this story in the Wall Street Journal just the other day. It's called, "Are America's Young Men Falling Even Further Behind? Why do men in their 20s and early 30s say they feel aimless and isolated?" I think this story really gets into the predicament many find themselves in and how it's affecting society. Now, I'm going to talk about what Intaction is currently doing in many states across the country that will help men with some of these issues by going after the root underlying cause. But let's talk about what's happening. We have a crisis in this country with young men. The trajectory of their life's headed downwards, and they're having a crisis of confidence. Their masculinity is being threatened. Their dignity's been taken away. Many are unemployed or aren't even seeking a job or higher education, which I think is just a symptom of the despair. By the end of this video, I'm going to tell you why I think this is happening, and if you believe this could be you, how you can regain control. Okay, well, what could be going on? Well, I think today there's greater access to information online, and with social media, podcasts, and such, there's greater information than ever before in history. And these guys are realizing they've been screwed over on so many issues. They probably feel like there's nothing they can do about it. And maybe they're tired of hearing about every other special interest group's issues when no one wants to hear about their issues. And Exhibit A on their list of grievances, either consciously or even subconsciously, has to be circumcision. What's more to the core of one's identity and masculinity to a man than his genitals? Genital cutting was forced on guys, and they were told they have to like it and shut up about it. But in the meantime, if a female's genitals are cut, it's just the worst injustice ever. And not only that, they'll lay it on patriarchy. So many young men, as per this Wall Street Journal article, are just opting out or failing to launch into being adults. If they feel like if they're not going to be treated fairly, if they're going to be disadvantaged in life and treated like a non-person, I mean, after all, cats and horses get more protection here in New York than infant boys, because it's illegal to declaw cats or dock horses' tails, but they cut infant penises for any or no reason on a whim. So these guys feel like, why should they even bother? With such odds stacked against them, they feel like nothing in their life's going to amount to much. When young men discover what was done to them, what circumcision means, the message that is sent is, you don't count. You're worthless. What you wanted didn't matter. So young men are just dropping out. They feel like they're out of options. And men and women are greatly diverging on paths of political and social issues more than ever before, by the greatest amount in history. Because instead of having mutual cooperation and empathy for each other, it's turning into a polarized race to protect self-interest and not care about how that impacts others. And what we end up having is a large number of disaffected young men, which can be very destabilizing to a society, if not hazardous. Just read the news and it's not good. This is why Intaction and the Health Quality Campaign are trying to stop the circumcision conveyor belt that male infants are placed on at birth. We're stopping the business of male genital cutting, and we're taking back control of our bodies and our dignity to at least level the playing field. I mean, after all, American guys have never endorsed cutting of female genitals or said that was okay, while also saying don't cut us. No, we're just looking for equality too. Now, I just want to clarify, Intaction is a 501c3 nonprofit anti-circumcision advocacy group, and the Health Quality Campaign is our 501c4 nonprofit lobbying arm, where we hire lobbyists and get involved with supporting political candidates. Lobbying is kept separate to comply with IRS regulations. So when you hear me referring to these two organizations, you know what I'm talking about. I just want to take a moment to say, if you care about this issue, I need you to support me by becoming a member of Intaction. It's just $25, and when I talk to legislators, I want to be able to say that we represent thousands of real bona fide people across the country on this single issue, and not just social media followers. We're in the hundreds, but I'd really like to have thousands. Just go to our website at intaction.org and click on Join on the menu bar, and it's tax deductible. I do all of this so you guys finally get heard on this issue, but I need you to help me too. I want to let you know that YouTube sent me a notice that they are blocking access to certain features in our channel, things like the ability to place links in the description or to do live streams. They're probably downranking us in search too, so our videos don't get the views they should get. I contacted them to find out what was going on, and all they would do is confirm the restrictions while refusing to say what happened to warrant this. Maybe someone on YouTube is trying to censor me from talking out against circumcision in the way that I do. Maybe we're not advertiser friendly. They're not telling us what the problem is. But to counter this, the best thing you can do is give us a like and subscribe to our channel, and let's build the momentum. So with that said, let's get into what we're doing. So over the last few months, we've been conducting legislative outreach to many state capitals, 18 states so far, and climbing, contacting state legislators in both their House and Senate, and making them aware about how their state Medicaid plan threatens children's bodily autonomy, that they are funding medically unnecessary services. We now have a system set up where this outreach will happen on a continual basis, and the messaging is tailored to party affiliation and state. Obviously, Democrats and Republicans have different and polarized outlooks on various issues, and we take that into account when contacting them. So far, we've contacted 1,700 legislators, and that number will continue to increase in the coming months. We're doing this to sift through as many legislators as possible and try to connect with the people that are willing to sponsor our model legislation. And it's a numbers game and it's a repetition game. So the more people we contact and the more times we contact them, the more likely we'll get through to the right person. And we're not only contacting legislators, we're contacting other state officials involved with healthcare to find people willing to work with us on this issue, because at the end of the day, a regulatory change can be just as effective as a new law. I have people that are building a database of contact information and various data points to enable this effort. The states that we have been working on include Texas, North Carolina, Georgia, Oklahoma, Kansas, Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, Wyoming, West Virginia, Arkansas, Iowa, Wisconsin, South Dakota, Tennessee, Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. And we let them know how millions of dollars are being wasted each year on Medicaid coverage for medically unnecessary, non-therapeutic infant circumcision. And this includes not only the cost for the procedure, but the subsequent corrective surgeries for botches and revisions. And that may not play well with folks that don't like single-payer public health programs in the first place. Perhaps this is an opportunity for them to make a statement about that. And we home in on insurance coverage for circumcision, because removing payments for this barbaric procedure, we really should call it a practice, because procedure seems to dignify it too much, but taking away the money is the single most effective way of reducing overall circumcision rates in America. Multiple studies have said it. When insurance stops paying, hospitals stop cutting babies. I think hospitals don't want to chase patients for money. They want insurance companies to wire it directly into their bank account. When the payments aren't guaranteed, they're probably like, we don't do those. No medical authority recommends elective non-therapeutic infant circumcision. Elective non-therapeutic is a fancy way of saying it doesn't do anything and you don't need it. And in fact, many authorities recommend against it. For example, nearby Canada does not recommend or cover the procedure. I tell them 17 other states have dropped Medicaid coverage for this needless, unnecessary practice. So what are they waiting for? I also emphasize that thoughtful legislative policy should protect a child's bodily autonomy or the right to make personal, permanent decisions about one's body as an adult. Unfortunately, the guaranteed payments from insurance like Medicaid can incentivize hospital systems to pressure parents to make a rushed proxy decision for a life-changing, unnecessary and destructive practice. Insurance coverage creates a conveyor belt for this unnecessary practice. And in many states, Medicaid coverage sets the standard for all health insurance coverage. So we're just not picking on one group of people that need access to health insurance. In New Hampshire, we await the next session of the legislature to reintroduce our two bills for another attempt at passage. The first bill would stop Medicaid payments for circumcision, and the other would require meaningful informed consent. The Medicaid bill didn't pass by a very narrow margin last session. Emily Phillips, who was one of our sponsors, unfortunately lost her seat due to, let's say, intra-party political rivalries. But there are new sponsors for our bills, and we look forward to another attempt after the elections are over. I'm in discussions with legislative leaders there, and we just need to get past Election Day. And I'll have more to report in the near future. In Maine, thanks to our work there over the last year, we stopped LD 1858, which would have mandated that the state Medicaid program fund infant circumcision. Remember, this bill had advanced so quickly, it was just awaiting on funding to be enacted, and we stopped it. Don't let anyone tell you we as intactivists, we can't be effective or we have to wait for the future. We can do it right here, right now. But that doesn't mean our work is done. Just because we defeated LD 1858 once doesn't mean they can't try again. So we continue to build relationships and network with legislators in Maine with the help of our in-state lobbyists. To that end, we've contributed to the Senate Democratic Campaign Committee and Senator Jill Doosan, the Opportunity Maine PAC, the On the Road to Maine's Future PAC, the Freedom Leadership PAC, and the House Republican Fund, which happens to be running a candidate against Democrat Kelly Noonan Murphy, who was the sponsor of LD 1858, the bill that would have mandated insurance payments for infant circumcision for both private insurance and Medicaid. The Health Quality Campaign's intervention helped to defeat her bill during the appropriations process, saving thousands of baby boys from needless, barbaric genital cutting. Just to revisit that, because of our efforts over the last 18 months in Maine, we saved the bodily autonomy of over 2,000 boys every year there. And this doesn't include the beneficial carryover effect onto non-Medicaid circumcisions. As I said earlier, it stops the circumcision conveyor belt. Hospital solicitations are reduced overall, where there's less money to be earned, and it helps keep the overall circ rate down. Our current activities should position us well in the event that Maine Health, which is a large healthcare system, and people like Kelly Murphy, if she's still around, or her friends, again try to push insurance coverage for infant circumcision. And when I say support the Health Quality Campaign, this is what it's for. We have to pay people in these states to represent us and lobby for children's bodily autonomy, and to help elect officials that support our position. This takes money, and this is what we spend it on. I'm excited to say we're back in North Carolina working on a number of fronts. The first item is to see what we can do about closing the HIV loophole that was put in place 2 years ago in the traditional Medicaid program. This is a way for hospitals to get payments for infant circumcision by having parents say they want it done to prevent HIV. An absurd policy because, first of all, babies aren't at risk for HIV. That's a decision that can wait until adulthood. And there's no evidence to suggest in the U.S. that circumcision even prevents HIV in the first place. We've hired the Capital Advantage Group to represent us with North Carolina Health and Human Services to see what can be done about the situation. We're also talking to the 5 managed Medicaid providers to see if we can find some common ground over their inclusion of circumcision coverage in their health plans. I'm pleased to say WellCare of North Carolina has already agreed to drop circumcision coverage. Now, depending on how the others go, if they don't change, then we'll be in discussions with legislators about why these providers are paying for coverage of non-medically necessary practices. The fee to register as a lobbyist is very costly in North Carolina. We have to pay $3,000 just to register with the Secretary of State, which is crazy, but they just hiked the fees. So again, if you like what you're hearing, please donate to the Health Quality Campaign. But the good news is right now, as of today, I don't see any new legislation pertaining to circumcision having been started in any state. But I monitor all 50 state legislatures for such things that threaten male bodily autonomy so we could take timely action as needed. If you believe in what we're trying to accomplish, if you are ready to stop being part of the silent minority and start becoming a new vocal majority, then support the Health Quality Campaign. It's about equality because everyone agrees we don't cut baby girls' genitals. Well, then we shouldn't cut baby boys' genitals either, right? Why is that so difficult for Americans to understand? The ironic thing is, if you look at your typical American guy, I'm sure many want to believe they're independent and strong, but actually they've been conquered and softened. Men have been told if you act like a man and behave like a man, it's toxic. And they reinforce that at birth by cutting off part of your penis while they're at it. I think it's how the system has been targeting men for decades. And that's the thing about circumcision. By the time a guy grows up and realizes what was done to him, it's like a slow acclimatization or even grooming process. He just becomes used to his body being that way. And then he feels the need to defend in actuality what he doesn't even understand, because he doesn't know any different. He finds himself in a position of defending that what is and that which always was. He defends the harm he was subjected to. I'm telling you, if more guys spoke up about what was done to them, this emasculating process of cutting penises would end tomorrow. But if guys don't become self-aware, the circumcision crowd's going to keep getting away with it. So live free, think intact, and fight back. Even if you were cruelly and thoughtlessly cut as an infant, you can regain your dignity and respect by being involved with our campaign and changing the laws. Even if your body is no longer intact, your dignity can be. See the link in the description or type in Intaction.org in your browser if YouTube's still blocking our links. To live for the day when hospitals tell parents in maternity, "Oh, circumcision? We don't do them anymore. They stopped paying for it. Not medically necessary. Your son will be fine just the way he is. It's for the best. No one's doing it anymore." Now, I know inflation is hitting everyone hard and things are tight, but I think our campaign gives some of the best value out there in terms of making change happen. So I'm asking for your help. You have the power to make a choice between stopping circumcision or allowing that conveyor belt to continue. Don't be one of those emasculated American men that meekly accept what was done to their body and then pretend that's what they wanted. You have the power to oppose this, and together we're starting to put the brakes on the practice. We proved it in Maine and New Hampshire, and there'll be more to come. We can redirect the harm that we've been forced to endure and channel that energy for a greater purpose by stopping this barbaric penis-cutting practice so we can heal ourselves. Think of the children of tomorrow or the child you once were. But that's what I think. Tell me how you feel down below. And until next time, my friends, it's foreskin for the win. Don't forget, go to Intaction.org, become a member, and also donate to the Health Quality Campaign.